This is being filmed.
Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. The Rusev and Lana cheating scandal truth has been revealed. I'm Ollie Davis. This is the other one, Luke Owen. Welcome to the WrestleRamble review of SmackDown, which is now sponsored by Beer 52. For our UK viewers only, go to www.beer52.com/WrestleTalk and you'll get a free case of craft beer, including this little beauty, which we'll be tasting after the break. But for the meantime, Rusev and Lana's latest chapter in One Night in Milwaukee.
You say it's the latest chapter, but I mean, really, this was the final chapter in the One Night in Milwaukee saga.
I guess so, yep. As a book of the larger Rusev Day feud,
yes,
written by the authors of Pain, they write all the grand epics of WWE continuity.
I mean, if you're going to go to anyone, that's who you would go to.
Yeah. Published authors. And this is like one chapter, I suppose. The One Night in Milwaukee chapter.
Yeah.
And then the next chapter will be when they actually have a match.
Yeah, but it's a question of when that's going to happen, because I've got to be honest, I'm slightly disappointed One Night in Milwaukee is over. Because I was really enjoying it for the last few weeks, and I felt like there was more that could have been milked from this video. Considering that, like, I suppose the next opportunity for them to have like a match that's on a big grand scale, because you can't just do this on a random episode of SmackDown. So you could do a match next week, but they haven't announced one, and they're probably not going to have a match at Crown Jewel, which means that the next time you can really have an opportunity for them to have like a match on a pay-per-view, even if it's on the pre-show, is Survivor Series, which is the end of November.
It's weird because, you've got the World Cup qualifiers for Crown Jewel. Rusev, he's a nationality character.
Problem is that he wasn't popular in 2005, so he's not allowed to be part of the tournament.
You can just say he was. Yeah, don't you remember Rusev, the big Bulgarian guy?
Yeah.
And then, you could also just say, he's English. and make Aiden do an English accent for a bit.
What you're saying, yeah.
And he could represent our British Isles.
Absolutely, yeah. So it just seems weird to kind of like pull the plug on this so soon into it, especially because you remember when Aiden English a couple of weeks ago did you remember that One Night in Milwaukee, and everyone was like, oh, what is this one night? And then last week he showed the video clip and I was like, oh wow, you and I were I loved it.
Yes,
we both
loved that soap opera stuff.
Really enjoyed it. And then this week it was and that's over.
So you would have wanted maybe a few weeks of clips of English in negotiations with TMZ and sites
absolutely.
Like that.
And you could have, where was any scene of Lana trying to plead with Rusev that there's more to the tape, there's more to this than meets the eye? All of that drama was just squandered and just gone. Because essentially, Aiden English came out to show the director's cut of One Night in Milwaukee, which had more footage than we'd previously seen.
Yes.
And he started airing it, and it was the same one we saw last week. However, Lana finished her sentence when she said, I want you, and there was to know how important you are to Rusev, and he loves the way you sing his theme songs. And it was that's quite a nice, sweet moment. And then Aiden English steps forward, and he puts his hand onto Lana's arm in quite a provocative manner.
Yeah, he angles himself.
Yep, and then the tape cuts again, and you're like, oh, brilliant, that's even more intrigue. Let's spray this out a little bit further. And then no, Lana and Rusev came out and were like, we hacked your phone, we've got the whole tape, here's the whole tape. And Lana was like, nope, and she walks out the room. And that's it. And that's the whole thing gone, squandered.
I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it
either. But you're right,
either.
it left a lot on the table.
Yeah.
Also, the whole, we easily hacked into your phone. I was just like, what? Since when? She said the password was I heart Rusev, so it doesn't seem like Aiden English is that up on internet security.
But that's not exactly
But it doesn't explain things.
And also, that's not really that wouldn't be the first password I'd have tried. I heart Rusev.
It'd been English is the best.
Yeah, Rusev Day.
Aiden #1.
Yeah, If the password was Rusev Day, then I would have completely bought that. But I Heart Rusev is not the... It could have had capital letters, could have had numbers in there.
Yeah, that's a special character.
Yeah.
It's a lazy payoff. That a lazy way to find, to give Lana and Rusev a way to reveal the truth.
And there's a real shame.
But she is Russian.
Well,
is what I thought.
But is she? That's the question. So I mean, there was particularly. I thought there was a moment in this that really you could have extended out further. Just, I feel like I'm sort of flogging a dead horse at this point in my point. But there was a moment when Aiden said, "Look, I'm going to destroy the tape. We don't have to watch all of this because I love you. You're my friend. I don't want to show you this. No one really wants to see this video. All I'm asking you to do is kick Lana to the curb, come back." We'll reform Rusev Day. What the crowd absolutely want. The crowd start chanting Rusev Day. And there's a moment when Rusev almost starts walking towards Aiden. He sort of turns to look at Lana and like, this is great. Like, let's. And then, nope, it's done. And it's over.
Yeah.
And we now know that Aiden was lying, even though we all knew that all along. And Rusev charges down and chases him away. I don't know. It was good. And I thought the payoff was sort of good. It just feels a bit anticlimactic because it came so soon.
I don't think WWE was ever going to make this not anticlimactic. Because it was there was so
unfair.
Much...
I think they really were pacing this quite well.
Yeah, but they never had a good reveal to this. I'm just basing this on all of WWE storylines like this from the last decade.
Yeah.
It was either this or Jason Jordan was going to turn out to be someone's son. I agree with you. The potential was lost, but I do really like how this plays into Aiden's character, and I hope they capitalise on that part of the storyline at least. And that's, you've got this really nice beat where Aiden, his best friend Rusev, he makes a play at his wife, and that is kind of, I mean, in my head, that's what's fueled his heel turn on Rusev, that he was rejected and he felt humiliated. And maybe this has been bubbling from a couple of months ago. And then you start to think, well, why didn't Lana tell Rusev about this? And you're like, well, because Lana doesn't want to break up these two best buddies. Maybe it was just an innocent mistake.
She did want to break them up, though.
Not in the last couple of...
Yeah, that was her whole thing. As soon as she came back and had the Happy Lana Day
but that was dropped.
Oh, well, yes.
But
so continuity-wise, it makes no sense.
So maybe that's when this did happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying. I'm trying to make this into a better story. Yeah. I thought it ended in a killer line, though.
Oh, this line this was line of the night.
So they play the full tape, and English has been exposed, and he says, well, it's that the offer's still on the table, and if you ever get bored of Rusev Days, come have some Aiden nights.
Great line.
And then he runs out of there when Rusev goes for him.
That was a killer line.
So
really great.
I mean, it's shifted gears. I understand a bit too early for our tastes, but it shifted gears now from this soap opera fun into blood feud fighting over a man's wife.
Yes. Although, interestingly, I say interestingly, that's a strong word, there was a WWE.com exclusive video, and the only reason I know this is because it was shared on our Discord server, come chit-chat with us, links in the video description below, that Lana has found a new best friend backstage in Carmella.
Of course she has.
And it was seeming like they were like in the locker room area. It was also with Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville and the Iconics. And it almost felt like, I haven't watched the video, I only looked at the thumbnail and someone said they found a new friend. It almost feels like they were setting up Lana and Carmella as another new tag team on SmackDown.
It feels like, from this video I haven't watched, that this is where they're going.
And what I've been told about the video is that they are now like the best of friends.
Well, that makes sense if the tag team division is on the table still. That guy who makes belts... He said that they've made belts for it.
And it was, what he said as well is that these belts are going to be defended across SmackDown, Raw, NXT, and NXT UK.
That's pretty cool.
Which is, I think that's really cool. I'm really, really behind that idea.
But to me, that says the Bellas are winning it then. Because Brie is the only dual brand performer apart from John Cena.
Yeah. And Rey Mysterio perhaps as well, because apparently there hasn't been a decision made on which brand he's going to get. He is wrestling on SmackDown next week, but there isn't a defined brand for him to go to yet.
Well, should we get on with the full review?
But before we get to that full review, of course, we do have to make mention that this video is sponsored by Beer 52. For our UK viewers, only, you can go to beer52.com/WrestleTalk to claim your free case of beer. You've only got to pay for the postage, and that'll be sent to you. And that is a free case of beer with a lovely magazine and a little snack in there as well. It's 8 lovely, lovely beers, craft ales, in fact. We had one yesterday, as you saw. But a lot of people were a bit upset that this is only for the UK viewers, but that is because Beer 52 is a UK company. So this one here is from the Cover Brewery, and it's a pale ale.
It's got a cool dragon design on the front.
And it's very nice.
All these beers are from a particular region, are they not?
They are indeed, yes.
Going by the name, I'm going to say Eastern European.
Very much so, because this is Zemeška Piranova. No, sorry.
That's definitely pronounced correctly.
Pivarava. Pivovara.
Pivarava.
Yeah, Smashkima Pivarava.
He's a Ilyav, his tag partner, isn't he? Yeah.
Wasn't he in the Battle Royal yesterday? The Global Battle Royal.
Yeah.
So this the tasting notes for this: refreshing mango and citrus, refreshing aromas. You've got refreshing twice there. Arise from 4 New World hops from an ale that's full of body with balanced bitterness. So I had this one at the weekend. It's 5.3, and it's very, very nice. It's a nice pale ale, and it's vegetarian as well.
That is nice. I always can taste things when people like that tastes like mango. Sure, okay.
Yeah.
Now it tastes like mango.
Yeah.
I'm pretty susceptible.
There's as I said yesterday, I am a subscriber to Beer 52 and have been for a while, and I actually get the 10 case box because I get the 2 extra beers because I like them that much. And there's one in here I wanted to mention. It's called Smash Mosaic that I had over the weekend, which is delightful.
Sounds like a New Japan faction. There you go. Have that. Let's get on with the full review.
Much. It's a SmackDown review, Maggle. I love it. We got us a flying Uso.
Just before we get into the full review, we have the results of yesterday's poll.
Yes, we did. We actually remembered to put the poll in as well, and I only remembered because I was going through getting the timestamps, and I just heard a glimpse of us saying we should remember to put a poll in, and I was like, "Oh yeah, the poll!"
I think we should make this a more regular thing.
Yeah.
In the news we call it the WrestleTalk question on a poll match.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday's question on a poll match was which Kurt Angle is better, Gold Gimp Kurt from yesterday's episode of Raw, or Monday's rather, or Shield Dad Kurt when he briefly joined the Shield at last year's TLC. Like he won a competition.
My favourite image of that was when... sorry, you got one of your hair stuck on your beard.
Cheers,
there.
babe.
One of my favourite images of that was, you know when Triple H was part of the Shield for that one house show they did in the UK?
Yep.
And it was like he was in filled Shield getup as well, and they posted the 2 images side by side, and it was like dad versus stepdad.
So of the over 1,000 of you voted,
thanks guys,
and 84% went for Gold Gimp Kurt.
Well, I mean that makes sense, really, doesn't it? Absolutely,
much sexier.
Conquistador Kurt was much sexier than Shield Dad Kurt.
He very disturbingly shared on Instagram. Have you seen this?
I saw this, yeah.
That he said that he's taken the gold gimp suit home for some fun times with his wifey.
I mean, I don't like the term wifey. That makes me feel a bit...
That's what's got you a little bit uncomfortable.
That made me feel a bit queasy.
It's that he then posted a picture of just his face in it, looking like a F-boy, and then he's got the suit laid out on the bed. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's an Olympic gold medalist. Yep. Maybe he feels at home with the gold.
I love gold.
Oh, I love gold so much.
Yeah, but don't call your wife your wifey. It's a bit gross.
You're my work wifey.
I'm your work wife.
Okay.
Let's just get that out there now. I do not like the term wifey.
All right, wifey.
Same as I don't like the term hubby.
We will think of another question.
It will come to us while we do this.
We'll figure it out. So look out for it.
But this show kicked off right away with the SmackDown Women's Championship rematch between Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, with the added stipulation that if Becky gets DQ'd, she will lose the title. When I say right away, Becky Lynch's music was playing while both of them were in the ring. It literally was like Todd Phillips comes on and was like, everyone at SmackDown Live, whoa! And they were in the ring, and they were like, ding, 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 let's start this match. So it really was like, and this took up then the next sort of 25, 30 minutes of TV time, and it was terrific.
I loved it.
Loved all of this.
And usually I'm not a fan of having rematches a couple of days after your pay-per-view match. But to be honest, over the last couple of days, WWE has delivered on it. All the Raw rematches were pretty good. Mm-hmm. You got for the Rousey Bella's heel turn, if nothing else for that one. And the main event was terrific yesterday.
And Brie Bella using her telekinesis.
Yes, has special powers. But this one, I thought this was the best of the bunch. Becky Lynch and Charlotte, with that stipulation that actually logically ties into the last one. And the story of the match was so good. It was based around Charlotte obviously going for the arm, Charlotte going for the leg, to set up the figure eight later on, and Becky going for the arm to set up the disarmer. A very submission-based strategy from both people.
Yep.
And that they've done this story before, but I do not get tired of it because I love submission-based wrestling. And then it gets to the same point where Becky walks out. She takes the title with her. She teases using the title. The referee stops her because, the no DQ stipulation. And then there's this amazing sequence of near countouts.
Yeah, it was really, really smart.
Yeah.
It was really nice. And it was, what I liked about this as well was they was really setting up this idea that Charlotte had the match won on several occasions, but Becky was always smart enough to roll to the outside and kind of regroup, and I'm not getting pinned here, I'm going to roll to the outside. And that's what then set up the pair of them getting counted out right at the end, which, might seem like a bit of a lame finish, but it sets up the match they're going to have at Evolution. Neither girl really loses. That's absolutely fine. And then you had the killer angle at the end of it.
Well, I thought, so this sequence of near countouts was so good where Charlotte gets hit by a Bexploder suplex outside. She almost makes it in at 9, but Becky runs out and they brawl. Charlotte hits her. That I thought, they're doing all these almost fake finishes, so when they do a real finish, it's going to be amazing. Like a real finish inside the ring, I mean. I didn't think, the way they were setting it up, I thought it was too obvious to do a count out.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Then when they did the count out, I was like, it isn't a pay-per-view, but this was such a good match. I'm a bit disappointed. But the angle afterwards was so good that it more than made up for it. And this is like a beautiful example of a TV installment of a wrestling feud. It delivers on the wrestling side, and you smartly book around the lack of a proper finish to protect both ladies or men, human beings, wrestlers, sports entertainers, and you keep that pot bubbling for a rematch. And that's, you always want to be building to make people want to see something else. And the angle was Becky's walking away, Charlotte's flopping around everywhere, and she runs up the ramp and spears Becky through the LED screen right at the top of the stage. It looked terrific. It couldn't have looked more perfect.
Yeah. It was like Chris Jericho versus Rhino at a SummerSlam 2001. It might not be SummerSlam, it might have been the pay-per-view afterwards. But either way, that was like Rhino gored Chris Jericho through the SmackDown sign. It was really, really awesome. That's what this felt like as well. And it really did collapse perfectly, like it was set up to do so. And it would just look... I know, right? But it looked really cool, and they really played this up. And it looks like Charlotte's got her hand caught, because I was re-watching again when I was getting images for the review, and it took her a long time to get out. And when she came up, she had blood all down her arm.
Was it blood?
Yeah, it was blood. In fact, all the images on the website are all in black and white.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I thought I've written down, Charlotte's selling of her arm was awesome, because she's screaming.
Yeah.
She's and it looked like, the way she was holding it, looked like she'd broken her arm.
Yeah.
But if that's a real injury.
Yeah, that's why they were talking about she's cleared to wrestle for Mixed Match Challenge later on. She did wrestle, she teamed with AJ Styles to face another team. I don't know what that team was.
Yeah, I was a bit down on it. I thought, you've been given something here. Just have a 1 week replacement. No one's going to be like, I've really been cheated out of that Mixed Match Challenge match. God, I was looking forward to that. I really follow that and take it seriously. You can follow it fine, but what's the point of caring about any results or who wrestles?
Yeah.
So, if something like that happens, just take advantage of it. Say, we've had to pull her from this and replace her with this person. And that only fuels the Lynch and Charlotte rivalry. But that's a minor nitpick. Overall, the backstage officials were running immediately in to check on both women.
Yeah.
A really good match. With a smart, spectacular finish. Loved it.
And then Paige announced later in the night that it's going to be a last woman standing, the first ever last woman standing match in WWE history at Evolution. So this is really fun as well, because it's the last time they're ever facing each other in a last woman standing, in the first ever last woman standing at the first ever all women's pay-per-view.
Yeah, it does become a bit convoluted when WWE try to promote everything as historic.
Yeah.
Or being a milestone.
Page here. Speaking of which, and I like Todd Phillips. I think Todd Phillips is a fine, bland commentator. He says words, and those words carry through a microphone, and you can easily tune them out. It's white noise. He's like a less offensive Michael Cole.
When I'm feeling anxious sometimes, I just isolate his commentary and I put it on, and then I can fall asleep easier.
Yeah.
Because it's a din, isn't it? That just
Absolutely.
wafts you to sleep.
And that's not me throwing shade at Todd Phillips. He's very good at being bland. Like, that's his role. His role is not to have a personality, and he does that very, very well. However, I took a lot of issue with Todd Phillips on this show tonight, because how many times did he say, it's the World Cup tournament is to determine the best in the world? He said that sentence probably about 10,000 times, and then, like, we are half an hour into this show, he has said Jeff Hardy, Samoa Joe, Big Show, Randy Orton, and The Miz are, quote, the best ever on SmackDown Live. And he said it again later for Rey Mysterio. It's every single person who had a match. Oh, they're among the best on SmackDown Live. These are among the best ever on SmackDown Live. They're among the greats of SmackDown Live. Like, well, if everyone's among the greats, then everyone's just the same.
Yeah. But if you're the Saudi prince watching WWE television for the first time in 15 years, then you're probably like, wow.
Yeah. Do you think that's what all the video packages were for? Age.
Of course it is. Like, I loved the video packages.
They were great.
So throughout the night, they had pretty much everyone who came out for something had a video package. And it made them feel big time. It gave you an insight into their character.
Yeah.
It showed their cool movesets.
More of that.
It gave them, like, this is a babyface. This is an enigmatic person. This is Samoa Joe. Be scared right away. Like, yes, that was awesome.
Yeah.
It's just, I wish they would. It was very transparent to me that this was to educate the Saudi crown prince.
It's interesting because I never picked up on that, because
Really?
I just assumed that the Saudi prince goes to the WWE network and does the filter to no more than 1999. Like, he doesn't want to go any further than that, and just watches any pay-per-views that come up.
Well, but on the long, that's the official name for the Crown Jewel World Cup.
Is the World Cup at Crown Jewel to determine who is the best in the world?
Yeah.
Yeah.
WWE at the start.
Oh, okay, yeah.
WWE
And really,
Crown
it does
Jewel
look like to be who is the best in the world from 2005.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Undertaker is going to be at SmackDown 1000. It's already announced, but it was a video package. I thought this was a very interestingly structured show, and they've been doing this for about a month, 2 months now, where someone will come out, and then they'll run a video package, maybe even go to a commercial break, have a backstage skit, and then go to the ring. Mm-hmm. And you're like, this wrestler's been standing here for about 5 minutes.
But you know what it's like as well, because we've been to a taping live when they did Raw earlier this year. They just bring all the house lights down.
Yeah.
So that wrestler ends up standing there in the dark.
Yeah, it's kind of like a dark match with themselves. Or if you're No Way Jose, they just play it forever and they just keep doing the dance.
Where's he been?
Hopefully not near my television screen.
I don't watch it, so I don't even read what happens. I don't even know if he's been on main events. And if you're not even able to get on main event, then there's something up, mate.
But I think this is quite a smart way. I wouldn't do it. I would keep it a bit more classical in that you have the wrestler entrance, you make the wrestler feel special. But I on paper, I recognise that WWE are trying to find a more engaging, fast-paced format for their shows, and to do so, they probably figure, people like the start of the entrance, but then there is like a couple of minutes where they're just walking around. So you set up that as spinning, and then you do a video package, and then you do a backstage skit. I don't mind it.
Hey, man, it's the Twitter and Instagram generation where, like, as soon as you're bored, you're picking up your phone, you start flicking through, trying to click refresh and stuff. So you've got to try and, like, distract them long enough that they're not picking up their phones, although they actually want you to go on Twitter and, like, join in the conversation with hashtag whatever the match is.
Yeah, they want you to watch this, but they also want you to look at your phone.
Yeah, maybe that's what we need to do for WrestleRamble. That's how we keep engagement up, is we start a hashtag and ask you to get involved in the conversation.
Stop watching us and comment. That would actually be very good for the YouTube algorithm. So,
although in fairness, I'm almost certain 99% of comments are left before the video is even watched.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's, they're our favourite ones.
Yeah.
Then we got Jeff Hardy versus Samoa Joe. And this, we got the video packages, sort of recapping each guy's character. Jeff Hardy was the first one, and he did the usual, the adrenaline coursing through my veins.
Is he Triple H?
I don't care.
Is that your Jeff Hardy voice?
Kind of. And this was where I was like, but Jeff Hardy's been around for ages.
Yeah, he's definitely winning
getting
here.
a video package.
Oh, okay. I was like, well, he's definitely winning here.
Yeah, that as well.
Yeah.
So that's where I started to think, but he was, I guess the Attitude Era he was a part of, but not in the mid-90s.
Yeah. I just thought it was really weird that, like, they've been really building up this idea that, like, Randy Orton beat up Jeff Hardy so badly inside Hell in a Cell, we haven't seen him for weeks on end. Who knows? You don't want to have a match with Randy Orton. You see what he did to Jeff Hardy? We haven't seen him forever. And then he was just here, like, absolutely fine. Not really, but they were kind of playing up that there was a bit of a character change for Jeff Hardy, saying that, like, because he was focusing on Samoa Joe's leg, the leg that had been injured, quote unquote, during the match at Super Showdown with AJ Styles, and he was being almost vicious with the leg and vicious with attacks. And apparently, he did a WWE.com interview. Again, I've not watched it because if it's not on TV, I'm not bothered. Where he was like, I really enjoyed targeting the leg. I really enjoyed focusing on that and inflicting that pain. So it's not a heel turn, but he's not the same guy here than the one that went inside Hell in a Cell with Randy Orton, which most likely means they're going to become a tag team.
Who, Randy and
Randy
Jeff?
and Jeff.
Yeah. We'll come on to Randy Orton tag teams. We'll come on to that. Well, that's not the last time.
Nope.
You would have. That's going to be brought up. So Samoa Joe, they wrestle they have a little brief start bit of a match, but then Samoa Joe's knee starts to give way as Jeff works it over, and of course this is selling the Saturday show of Super Showdown where AJ took out his knee. I love this. Mm-hmm. I love selling injuries that happen.
Absolutely.
Like, not just 3 days ago. Sell injuries that happened weeks ago.
Yeah.
Not just like, we're going to hit you in the ribs a bit on Raw, and then you can sell that at the pay-per-view, and then we won't talk about it again. That's the extent of WWE's selling of injuries these days. So I really appreciated this. I hope that it carries on for a bit. And it played in perfectly for the finish, where Joe is sort of walking, his knee gives way, and the referee calls off the match, awards it to Jeff Hardy.
What I loved about this, it does kind of protect Joe in the finish. He was injured, quote unquote, at the show on Saturday, and Jeff was working over the leg. But what I really loved about Joe's performance here is that the referee calls for the bell, but even after he's called for the bell, Joe is still trying to stand up. He's almost like scrambling to get back into this match and get the referee to reverse the bell call so we can carry on the match. I thought it was a really good performance by Joe. I really, really liked him here. But it was at this point, I figured that Hardy was winning regardless, but I've suddenly realised, and I should have realised it much sooner, that this World Cup tournament to determine the best in the world is not, it's there for the Crown Prince's enjoyment. It's not being used to create or elevate a new star, so I'm really not asked about it now, and I'm really nonplussed, and I'm really not bothered.
Did you think it was going to be then?
Well, if you're going to do a tournament, at least have a purpose for it. Like, I know, I get that it's a glorified house show and it's being done to appease one person and they're being paid billions or whatever it is to do it. But I thought if you're going to do it, at least have a point to it.
But the greatest Royal Rumble happened.
I know, learn from your mistakes. Like, everyone...
I know, to you. I had no...
Yeah.
illusions of anything other than this was just a throwaway one-night thing.
Yep. More for me. I completely get that. But at the same time, at least on Raw, they've used it to further the storyline between Kurt Angle and Baron Corbin. At least in one aspect of it.
Here they used it to further Joe's injury.
Did they?
Yeah. Got over that Joe's injured.
That didn't need to be part of the tournament, though, did it? Granted, I don't suppose that needs to be part of the tournament either. My other issue with that is it took up, a bit more of the TV time. Like, we're now dedicating TV time to what is, as you've just pointed out, a pointless tournament with no outcome that we shouldn't be invested in.
But that's WWE TV a lot of the time. It's fascinating.
It's a waste of time.
It's fascinating to me that so much of WWE booking, more so now than previously in the year at Greatest Royal Rumble, is being influenced by one guy who hasn't watched wrestling for almost 2 decades, and this is the Crown Prince. Like, so many of these creative decisions, not business decisions, I guess they're business decisions by proxy, but so many of these creative decisions are being influenced by one guy with loads and loads of money.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling.
Oh, it's crazy, yeah.
I don't know if it's because you could say, well, that's a terrible thing, but then what if he had really good taste? Like, what if he said, turn Roman heel, bring CM Punk back, I've got all the money, do it. So, like, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, like, on paper, but it's bad in its execution.
Yeah, it's a pointless, redundant tournament, but unfortunately, and I think we said this around Greatest Royal Rumble as well. Remember how, like, it just became sort of creatively stifled, and it almost felt like the company were like, right, we just got to get this out of the way. And that's now what we sort of feel like we're in again. That's just like, well, we just got to get through Crown Jewel, and then we can just move past that.
I'm seeing it as the next pay-per-view.
Yeah?
Yeah, in my head it's the next.
But you just said that this tournament is pointless, but we're still building towards it. So it's a redundant piece of television.
But so's King of the Ring. Like, anytime WWE
Yeah, but King of the Ring
tournaments,
built to something. King of the Ring, you won, you got a title shot at the end of it. You were crowned King of the Ring. The King of the Ring was designed to elevate new stars, to create new stars. Kurt Angle became WWE champion off the back of winning the King of the Ring.
I would argue that is a very rose-tinted way of looking back at the King of the Ring tournament. It very rarely did that. And very rarely did WWE follow through on it. So, like, for me, I think
Triple H, Bret Hart, Steve Austin, Kurt Angle, Edge, like, it built stars off the back of it.
But, like, not immediately. Like, they didn't. It was just it's like
Kurt Angle.
It's that sort of thing where in a couple of years you go, oh yeah, and they won King of the Ring. Isn't that really what a big accolade? But actually, if you go back in the time, they didn't do anything with them for like 2-3 months.
I disagree with
no,
that.
WWE have no good at tournaments, so whenever they put on a tournament, I don't really care about it. And this is the same thing.
I will give you that later on in the King of the Ring lifestyle, when they basically just gave up on it and was like, well, this is a pointless endeavor.
I would say in the 90s as well.
Oh, no, I disagree in the 90s,
Mabel.
but certainly... Yeah, but King Mabel, they were looking to make a star out of him. Like, they wanted him to be a star. It didn't work, and it didn't work with Ken Shamrock when he won it in 99, 98 either. But they intended for him to be a star. I think they intended to do the same thing with Billy Gunn when he won it in 99, but they couldn't follow up on the execution of it. But at least the intent was there. Later on, when, like, King Barrett won it and Sheamus won it, and the idea was then just like, oh, now you've got a King gimmick. Like, you win King of the Ring, you get a crown, and you become a King gimmick. And that's when it starts to fall. That's when it falls apart. Should be a Crown
Prince. Should be Crown Prince of the Ring.
Well, there you go. Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Anyway, we got a video package for Randy Orton showing footage from OVW and Evolution that really put over his championship accomplishments. Liked that. And they announced that Evolution will be at SmackDown 1000 next week.
Which will be interesting as well.
As I said, I'm kind of curious to see how they're going to handle the Randy Orton situation. Because actually, the Randy Orton we saw later in the show did not feel like the Randy Orton we've seen for the last sort of few months on this show. But anyway, next up we got Miz TV with AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan to build up their match at Crown Jewel for the WWE Championship.
This was one of those bits where Miz comes out and the commentators are like, hey, it's Miz, he's going to come down for Miz TV. AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan's going to be on. And then they go to break. And then they come back and it's the Paige segment where she announces Charlotte and Becky. Mm-hmm. And then it goes back to Miz TV.
Yeah.
So it's a different way of formatting.
Absolutely, yeah.
But this was great. I really enjoyed this segment.
This was brilliant. And so Miz calls down AJ, and then he does this really, really great sort of half-assed introduction to Daniel Bryan. He's like, here he comes, and then we'll continue Daniel Bryan. It was really good. Because Miz had been told he's got to remain professional throughout this segment. He's been told that he can't get involved physically, and he's got to treat these two with respect and treat the segment with respect. But he was going to do that in the Miz style possible, which is to treat it like, I'm being professional here, but I am going to say, I'm going to make a mockery at the same time. But this did lead to Daniel Bryan and AJ just making fun of the Miz at every possible opportunity, calling him the 2-minute man and things like that. And it was really fun. It was really nice banter between AJ and Bryan to make fun of the Miz. But crucially, it made the title match seem important because they were really building towards that. AJ wants to remain the face of this company, whereas Daniel Bryan was like, I came back because I wanted to follow my dream, but I've never really explained what that dream is. My dream wasn't facing Big Cass. It wasn't reuniting Team Hell No. It wasn't even wasn't facing this jerk, pointing at the Miz. It was to be the WWE champion. And I said this in the review, and I'd be curious if you agree, although I imagine a few people don't, that I think this is the first time in a while that the WWE Championship has felt like the important thing that people want to win.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a fair point, actually, because so much of AJ and Nakamura was based on Nakamura's heel turn.
Low blows.
So much of Joe versus AJ was based around Wendy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is two guys who believe they are the best at wrestling, trying to win the thing that says you're the best in wrestling without shenanigans.
Thumbs up to all of that. Lovely, lovely stuff.
And I must say, Bryan's performance here was incredible.
So good.
He is so sincere. And I think it's because he is being sincere. He can't lie, this guy. So everything he says feels genuine. That's part of the reason everyone feels so emotionally connected to him. And he is an expert at putting over the opponent, but saying he's better than them. I love this Chris Jericho lesson in one of his books where he said that one of the first promos he ever cut was calling out this wrestler for him being rubbish, like, you can't wrestle and I'm going to beat you. And then he walked away and thought, wait a second. If I beat him then I haven't proved anything to anyone because this guy's a rubbish wrestler. And if he beats me, I'm worse than that guy.
Yeah.
So the idea is, even if you're a heel, always put over your opponent, but just say you're better than them.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to make the guy you're facing seem like a goof.
I think the classic example of that is Triple H Cactus Jack in the lead up to Royal Rumble 2000. All of Triple H's promos were just like, you are the most dangerous man in the ring. You are always at every opportunity was just like, you're this, you're that, you're absolutely amazing. But I am going to beat you. I'm going to be better than you, and I'm going to win.
And that was the last time Triple H ever said anything nice about Mick Foley. But yes, and Bryan had those great lines. Do you want to talk about our match, Miz? Won't take long.
Yep, lovely stuff.
AJ's stuff is stilted. Usually you don't notice it, but he was in there with the Miz and Bryan, who are spectacular on the mic.
Absolutely, yeah. But then Miz got up because they started poking fun at him again, and it was really great because Bryan and AJ sort of stood up and they was had these sort of jibes back and forth, and Miz said, finally, this is getting interesting. Which was a really great line because Miz feels that these two are boring because he, in Miz's character, believes to be the best in wrestling is to be an entertainer, is to be really good on the mic. He is a WWE product, whereas these two guys are not. They're Ring of Honor, they're TNA, they're the indie product of, you want to be the best at wrestling. So it creates this really nice dynamic. And then Miz just cuts this amazing promo where it's like, you didn't beat me at Super Showdown.
Yeah.
I had my shoulder up, so really I should be the number one contender. I went to Paige, but you're such a charity case that she wouldn't even let me have a rematch. Lovely little line. And then he points at AJ Styles and he says, you've made the most prestigious championship in this company irrelevant. I was like, you want to know why you have, the WWE Championship has not main evented a pay-per-view for months? You just got to look in the mirror. It was great stuff. I thought Miz was tremendous here.
Because Miz, he's really good, just like Bryan, of hitting those notes of truth too. So when he says, I beat you at SummerSlam, I beat you at Hell in a Cell, you only beat me with and then the one time you do beat me is with a small package.
With a fluke roll-up.
Yeah, what a rubbish victory that is. And now you're the one fighting. That should be my title shot. And then you've got Bryan also saying that I loved it when he said, I did my dream wasn't to reunite Team Hell No or go after this guy. Because you're that's what we've been saying.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's really, really, really good. The only slight criticism I have is that...
Here comes negative Nelly over here.
It's just that...
Always got something negative to say.
Well, it's just I keep coming back to it. The Miz and Bryan is one of these should be one of these all-time classic blood feuds. And here they are sitting next to each other, not even separated in the ring, just doing light joshing. Mm-hmm. That's...
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
There was and then Miz says that he's next in line for the WWE Championship. Whoever wins at Crown Jewel, he's naming himself as the new number one contender. And he says he brings out Shelton Benjamin for a match with AJ Styles, which was it was a fine match, but really it was a backdrop to Miz and Bryan on commentary. Like, the match may as well not have been happening in the ring. But there was a really great bit on commentary where Miz says, look at him down the end there, he won with a fluky roll-up, and Bryan just goes, actually it was a small package. It's like, if you knew wrestling moves, you'd know what that was.
Yeah, it was hard to go, like, Benjamin and AJ was fine. That should be better, really, when you look at it on paper.
Yeah.
But Bryan and Miz were so good on the commentary desk.
And you had Miz sat next to Corey Graves, and Corey Graves talking about how awesome the Miz is. Like, I completely agree with you. You did get your shoulder up. That was a great interview segment you just did there. You are must-see. And then you had Byron Saxton on the other end going like, Daniel Bryan's the best. I think he's brilliant. Blah, 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 blah. And so you had this really nice dichotomy of these two arguing with the babyface and heel commentator, adding fuel to that fire, and then Todd Phillips in the middle, saying whatever it is that he says.
Still saying the name of Crown Jewel's global World Cup thing.
And then going, SmackDown rolls on, which is his other classic.
That used to be a Jerry Lawlerism. Raw rolls on. I used to, just every time. It makes my teeth clench.
But there was a nice spot there where AJ went to do a springboard and Shelton ran up and kneed him like right in the face, which was a really good spot. But in the end, AJ won with the phenomenal forearm.
I've written, I forgot there was a match going on with all the commentary.
Yeah, there was a nice line from Corey where he says, don't worry, Miz, I've heard that 2 minutes is above the national average. Great line, Corey.
Then we got the Aiden English and Rusev Day stuff.
Well, we got a video package for the Big Show first.
Did we?
Because Big Show's
I stopped writing down all the video packages. There were a lot.
Yeah,
that's not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing.
I did enjoy them.
Yeah, and again, this kind of put him over as like he's the best giant in the business, the only man to win the WCW, ECW, and WWE championships. I thought that's a good line, and it puts over the Big Show. And really, like, these video packages are meant to make you go, man, I can't wait to see these two collide in the ring later on.
When they played that video package, I had let the Big Show go because, it seemed like his career was over last November when he had I believe it was a hip surgery. It was some kind of surgery. And it seemed like he was winding down.
Yeah,
he wasn't going to get the match with Shaq.
Next year marks the 20th anniversary of Big Show joining the WWF or WWE, and he made his debut in like 95, when he was the Giant. So we've had a long run of Paul White. We've had a long run of the Big Show. So like you, I think I was ready to let him go.
But seeing the video package and the main event, I was just like, good grief, I love this guy. Like, I thought the absence was really...
the match?
Well, it was... I don't care about the match. Like,
okay.
So, sometimes this was sports entertainment, and you don't need a good wrestling match for it. You just need someone who's really physically impressive. And Big Show's that kind of guy who's great on the mic. He's so physically impressive, like, just in stature, that... if you just use him right, you could. There's a way to use him to get over younger guys now, and not exploit how slow he is in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I thought it was good. And then we got the Aiden English stuff, and then we got Rey Mysterio as a hype package.
Yep, another all-time great from Todd Phillips.
He'll be facing Nakamura next week for the Crown Jewel World Cup spot.
To determine who's the best in the world.
So... Nakamura's losing that.
100%. There's no way that Rey's coming back, losing his first match. Considering that they're trying to make this feel as much like 2005 as possible, Reg is definitely winning this.
That's crazy. Like, Nakamura, he wins the United States title at SummerSlam. He's done nothing. Was it there or was it surely before?
I think it was SummerSlam. Okay. Oh, it might have been before. I can't even. That's the point. I can't even remember.
He was defending his title.
That might be right. Yeah.
But yeah, he's done nothing.
Absolutely.
He was
nothing.
Always a backdrop to Hardy and Orton.
Yeah.
But yeah, a real waste of Nakamura. It's not like he wasn't good. He was fantastic. He was one of the best acts on SmackDown.
Yep. But
it's not like a Ty Dillinger where they never had any plans for him. They made him the United States champion.
And he hasn't had a feud since winning that belt. And now he's had that belt now for months. And they've done absolutely nout with him. Like, what was the point in giving him the belt?
Yeah.
What was the point?
They might have had a plan and it was dropped. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, real waste of Nakamura.
Real waste.
It really looks like he's losing next week, going by the tone they're setting for this match. So yeah. And then we got the main event of Randy Orton versus The Big Show.
God, this was a boring match.
I only went 5-6 minutes.
Okay, here's the thing. Okay, here's why I find this match not find it so offensive, or why I find it really boring, is it was the main event of this show. If this had been the opener, fine. If you'd have ended this show with the Becky Charlottes, like the half hour, and you did that big closing angle at the end of the show, I think I'd have been so much higher on this show than I was in the review, which I gave 3 out of 5. I thought it was a perfectly fine show. It was an average show. But this felt like such a damp ending, a really, really damp ending to what had been a perfectly fine show. Like, these two just went in there, had the most basic of basic matches. Like, it was less than house show levels of basic. And Randy won, and they were like, and that's SmackDown for this week. Yeah, play me off. And I was like, cool. Like, I was waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, especially when Evolution is the next pay-per-view.
Yeah.
You could have Charlotte and Becky Lynch as the main event.
And yeah, that big closing angle. You'd have had this big closing angle, then like destroying the set and things like that. That'd have been brilliant.
I did like the fact...
Before everyone comments and go like, well, Charlotte had to have the mixed match challenge. Then don't have her have that match this week. Then just move that match to next week.
I did like the fact that the LED screen was broken through the rest of the episode. But that's the only positive I can see. Adds to that chaotic atmosphere. So I enjoyed seeing Big Show back. I like him. He's good in a limited role. It's just like not when he's pushed as this main eventer going for the title like Kane was when he came back. So... What happened to me is, maybe this is why I found so much fun in the match and I liked it, is because I started thinking about something that could happen.
Oh, yeah.
And I was watching them.
Is this like when we went to go watch Star Trek Into Darkness and you said on our podcast review, I didn't like the film, but then I started to enjoy it because I was making up a much better film in my head.
Yeah.
So is that what's happened here? This was a really boring match, but you made a much more interesting match in your head.
Yeah, yeah.
So now on your podcast review, you're like, it's actually really good.
Well, yeah, you make your own fun sometimes. And so, RK Show.
You want to sort of add to the Big Show lineage of like teaming with guys, and then Jerry Show, Show Miz.
Here's my story, right? So you
did go into this, didn't you?
Earlier in the night, you have Big Show sort of talking to Ty Dillinger. I'm gonna get him back for you, Randy Orton.
Finally, a decent impression.
I'm gonna get Randy Orton for you, Ty. And then maybe some other people like Jeff Hardy. So a few people like Ty Dillinger, like R-Truth. Others like that, the lower mid to undercard, they come down in Big Show's corner because Randy Orton's just been beating them all up, and Randy and Big Show have this sort of stare off for a while, and then Big Show attacks all the youngsters, and you have like what Progress had in this grizzled vets,
young grizzled veterans,
this faction,
grizzled young veterans,
and. Yeah, you just have Randy Orton and Big Show. Like, Big Show doesn't have to... That's a perfect use of Big Show at this stage in his career. A monster heel muscle who doesn't have to wrestle any matches. He just has to beat people up on the outside or backstage.
Just your heater.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the RK Show. A bitter Legends faction. Killing all the other Legends and the young up-and-comers.
But that really goes against what the point of this show was, which is just like, let's make it feel as old as we possibly can.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out why they put it in the main event.
Because well, that's it. If this had opened the show, I think I'd have had a different opinion on SmackDown, but to main event, it was a real wet fart of an ending.
There was a "You still got it" chant for Big Show.
Yeah.
He's got height. Orton kicks out of a chokeslam, which I thought was a good near fall. I enjoyed the Big Show getting DDT'd off the top rope, actually, that draping DDT that Randy hits. Show reverses. Orton set up the punt at one point. Show turned it into a really weak spear. But the finish comes when Orton thumbs Big Show in the eye, which the ref couldn't see, and hits, like, a Tamatonga level RKO where he gets a little pop of air off the initial jump when he touches
Well, he's got to. He's so tall. He's got to get that extra little, he's got to double jump it.
So I thought that was a great RKO. And interestingly, the first RKO since Randy's returned. Now, you can look at this two ways. You can say, Big Show really took Randy to his limit. He showed that bully what's what. So Randy had to bring out the RKO. I don't buy that. I think this was a directive from above saying, you need to play the hits for the Saudi Arabia tour.
Yeah.
So, and I think the Crown Prince is going to watch this episode because it's got the the Crown Jewel qualifying matches.
The World Cup, yeah.
Which is why we
to
need
determine the best in the world.
Yeah, which is why we need to put you in the main event, and why Big Show's here.
Yeah.
Hi, how's it going, Paul?
Hi, I'm gonna have a good match tonight.
Yeah, guys, I know you're really sick and tired of playing Enter Sandman, but the Crown Prince is coming here, so if you could just play that one, maybe even a couple of times, that'd be really nice.
That would be a Metallica reference.
It would be a Metallica.
I don't think you introduced a Metallica reference. I was confused about what you were saying for a moment there. I was like, ECW? Anyway, yeah, so I would agree with you on the solid rating. But just, a simple switch of that opening match to the main event could have turned this into slightly higher, just on how you leave them, folks.
I'm a little bit, I mean, SmackDown 1000 is going to be a fun nostalgia show next week.
Doesn't feel like it's going to be on continuity.
Oh, no, it totally won't
I think
be,
it's going to be a Raw 25 celebration.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it's going to be. I'd imagine, you know how we said, I wonder how Randy's going to be with Evolution. He'll probably be like Randy Orton was in 2003 when he first joined Evolution, and they'll just pretend that none of this has really happened.
Get the quiff back.
Yeah, because
maybe that's why he's been growing his hair out.
Because none of this really matters. It'll be a fun nostalgia show next week. Although I said that about Raw 25, and that ended up being a bit pants. But it's a 2-hour show, which means it's more condensed. It's going to be a busy old 2-hour show because they've got a lot of names to get on there. But I'm slightly concerned for SmackDown, if only because if we are going to be in this sort of period now where we've got to build to Crown Jewel and appease one person who's got all the money, and we have to put on shows like this, which is just like, hey, you remember all those guys from 13 years ago who are now main eventing the show, and all that other stuff, the stuff that these guys who are actually going to be sort of like carrying this company for the next couple of years, ignore them. They don't matter. But because really it's the guys from years ago that are the ones you want to focus on. And that Evolution thing, we'll do that right at the start, then you can forget about it, and then we'll focus on all these old guys from 13 years ago.
So I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
But it's more depressing than that, because the future of the company that WWE is built, that WWE is ignoring, are actually all from 13 years ago too.
Oh, it's actually very true.
AJ, Joe, Bryan.
Yeah.
Like these guys are not young 20-year-olds. They're all in NXT.
At least they feel new in WWE.
Well, yeah, but in terms of like actually carrying the company, they physically won't be able to in a couple of years.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
AJ's 42, going on 43, I think. He wants to retire soon, he said.
Yeah, he's got another couple of years in him, is what he's saying, yeah.
So
you're absolutely right.
Oh, isn't that depressing and sobering to end on? That's all we've got time for today. Please check out Beer 52 at www.beer52.com/WrestleTalk to get your free case of craft beer. I've been Ollie... Oh, and click these things. I've been Ollie Davis. This has been The Other One, Luke Owen, and that was Rambling.